Good morning. Today we're talking about urban ecosystem, the services, and how they can be applied in the development of inclusive planning guidelines. In context, I want to bring you to the beautiful city of Perugia in central Italy. It is a marvel of medieval architecture. You can see this on this picture. If you look at the map on the left, you'll find that, well, the city boundaries are in red, that it is surrounded by all those green areas, which are Natura 2000 areas. So you see that it has quite a lot of biodiversity around. So the city is situated on the edge of Apennines, so basically behind it, or to the north and north east are Apennine Mountains, and opposite to them are more hilly rolling hills area, full of agricultural activity. And the case we're interested in here is how wild boars, or in Italian they are cinghiali, how they became a kind of big topic in local news. When COVID-19 pandemic came, then people had to spend a lot of time in their homes, so they were for quite a long time not allowed to show up on streets. And as one of the results, as you may recall, was that biodiversity started to reappear in the cities. And one of those pioneers of reappearing biodiversity were the wild boars, the cinghiali. They're very versatile animals. They can feed on practically anything. They're quite fearless and they're very mobile. So, and apparently also very curious. So for them, it was very easy to penetrate the city, and they started to be found in all kind of spots, which were very, very, very highly unusual for any kind of big forms of wildlife to appear. And apparently, local people were not very happy about it. If you look at the headlines of local newspapers, you'll see anything of these kinds, like Pietralungo, un branco di cinghiali a 2 passi dal centro storico. So like Pietralungo, like group of wild boars is in 2 steps from the historical center. Il Comune trova i giuste contromisure, like the municipality is called for finding appropriate countermeasures, or Nove cinghiali a spasso per il parco Perugia. Paura e rabbia al Chico Mendes. So you see that the journalists, they didn't spare big words to attract attention to these headlines. However, what's important for us is that you see the COVID-19 is gone. Still, wild boars are here. People are very unhappy having them around because, well, they're quite big and potentially aggressive animals. So, like, nobody wants them around. And they want the city to do something about it. Another example, cinghiale alla ricossa, branco notato in zona Centova, Perugia, like about the another group of wild boars found near the center, like a bit of humorous touch. Chi ha la precedenza in una rotonda a Perugia e cinghiali, like who has priority on the roundabout, the wild boars in Perugia. So you see that really kind of it was not a little isolated issue. It is really something that make quite a big community of people concerned, people requiring the municipality to do something about it. Municipality is a bit in difficulties to do something about it because it quite outside the normal routine. Again, as I mentioned, wild boars is not very easy species to deal with, so the story is still going on. Another case I wanted to give as a context are seagulls in coastline cities. Specifically here, I'm speaking about seagulls in the city of The Hague in the Netherlands. On the left picture, you see a baby seagull. That's a very familiar sight for many streets of The Hague from late June up to late August. So the seagulls, they penetrated the city. Probably also COVID-19 was one of the reasons why they started to feel themselves uncomfortable around the city. And that happens quite a lot, that the baby seagulls, they're dropping out of the nest and they can be found on the street. So you can just walk on the street, mind your business, bump in such a little, and then you can be attacked by adult seagulls, the parents, who are watching out what's happening with the babies. It's indeed not life-threatening, but still I have to tell you, very unpleasant, because seagulls is quite a huge bird and it can be very aggressive. It has a lot of poo, big wings, big beak, very unpleasant and highly pitched sound. So like quite not nice, I'll say. And on the right, you see what the streets of the city of The Hague often look like, well, in the districts where I live on Wednesday mornings. The waste management system in The Hague, at least in some areas of this, looks like this. If you get your garbage to your plastic packs, and on Wednesday mornings you put it out of your door, and then garbage truck by municipality comes by and picks up all those sacks, plastic sacks. But with seagulls in the city, the picture is a bit different. They are looking for food, they're interested what is inside, and it's pretty windy location, so we see this garbage that was originally in plastic bags, it is everywhere, so not nice at all. And furthermore, having a lot of seagulls, feeling comfy around you in the city is not very nice, not very comfortable, I have to tell you, especially in summer when you're sitting on a summer terrace, enjoying your lunch, and then there are all those seagulls sitting around and you're looking at your plate to figure out if you have something yummy, probably you can be willing or not willing to share, and then indeed they again can attack. Well, in that specific case, I would say I didn't see a lot of concern from people in the Netherlands about the seagulls. They, well, somehow somewhat irritated about them be around and, doing all these unpleasant things, but still it's kind of not really seen as a really big issue. Me being foreigner, I'm kind of annoyed, but I'm really surprised to see that Dutch people seems to be kind of reasonably annoyed, but more or less fine with this. And in Leiden, I was told, that's another city not far from The Hague, they even saying that if seagull is stealing your kibbeling, this is kind of fried fish, traditional Dutch fast food, then it means that it was good quality kibbeling. So it's really interesting how it goes, huh? So here is a quick question for you to reflect about this. Think about these two cases, cinghiali di Perugia, the wild boars of Perugia, and seagulls of The Hague. What realistic and proportional measures you could come up with? Please make sure that the measures are realistic and proportional and that multiple governance levels are accounted for. So it's kind of not something from the fantasy world, but you see some solution that really can work, that would require some realistic financial means that can be implemented within a reasonable time frame, and that, well, in your opinion, would be agreeable for local communities. If you look at literature base that discusses what good and bad things urban nature brings to us, you'll find quite a lot. This was quite a random paper I just picked up from Scopus database to demonstrate you this as an example. Say there is this nice classification about good and bad things which are brought by nature in opinion of one specific community. It was in New Zealand, if I'm not wrong. And indeed, traditionally we hear a lot about good things brought by the nature. They are called ecosystem services, and you already know a lot about it. But here we are speaking about the rather negative ones, things that irritate, that annoy people, that cause some harm to people in the cities and to their activities, to their health, to their well-being. And those negative things we frame as ecosystem disservices. If you want to have better insight about like how ecosystem services evolve in the literature, I invite you to read this paper that was developed within our research group. It was led by Ruti Webekim. So like she looked at over 1,000 papers from Scopus database that explicitly address ecosystem services using this specific term. And she tried to understand how ecosystem the services split in terms of topics, approaches of analyzing them, also geographically, and we try to make sense of all this. This is one of the working tables that was used in the process of paper development. We looked at titles, authors, contents of the paper, highlights, abstracts, and this way we tried to make sense of each of them. So if we come to the academic definition of what ecosystem the services are, I really like this one. They are functions and properties of ecosystem delivering discomfort to citizens. So this is a little bit synthetic one coming from two papers. And you may ask a question, why actually we need to look at ecosystem services? Why we need all this negativity about the nature? Nature is good, right? The answer is that indeed, nature is good, and we do enjoy many good things it supplies, and we want people to enjoy good things nature supplies to them. But it is quite inevitable, and we found it in one of previous research that people, they're easier getting negative about bad things about the nature in cities rather than appreciating good things about it. And that is why if we want to keep nature in urban contexts, if we want to have nature in the cities, we really have to understand why people can be unhappy about the nature, and we have to find this right balance between ecosystem services and ecosystem services, and probably also see how these manifestations of nature can be balanced from the side of the services to the side of services. There are many tools and ways of doing this, and we'll discuss this a little bit later. When we're speaking specifically about what kind of ecosystem the services are out there, it was the classification we came up with. So we divide them at ecosystem attributes and functions, and those properties of functions of ecosystems that deliver like bad things to the citizens, then those who directly affect the human health, those which are aesthetic in its nature, and those that cause restrictions and inhibitions of urban planning and development. So here are the examples. So speaking about ecosystem attributes and functions, say we have ecosystems that which I believe unacceptable in urban environments in many cultures, probably not all, right from the beginning. Almost nobody wants wetlands, bogs in the city, and it's considered a bad thing, and for many reasons. Say we don't like invasive species like hogweed, and for reason indeed. Then there are floods. It's not the best picture to illustrate the idea of flood we're talking about. Normally, in the context of ecosystem, the services, we're talking about landscape floods. So if we have a small river, and if there is a floodplain of this river, it is intrinsic quality of this ecosystem to have floods several times a year. And indeed, if we are not happy about this flood happening in this ecosystem, we see this as ecosystem disservice. Then quite common one, we have falling old trees and branches. Nobody happy to find something like this after hurricane at night. Then there is seeds and pollen causing stain and dirt on cars and other surfaces, and there are algae blooms. Again, nobody likes them. When we're speaking about human health and aesthetic issues, first of all, we need to mention allergies. Many species of trees, such as poplars, they known to be very powerful allergens. Indeed, there are many ways to find other species which are less allergic, also other species of poplar, yet it's still a problem in many cities, and in many extreme climates, poplar is still the only viable option for making streets green. So it's still a problem. In Estonia, perhaps the most known and the least appreciated the services are the tick bites. There are ticks. We're using less chemicals to groom the nature. We want biodiversity to strive, to have more birds, more pollinators, and the side effect of this, we have more ticks. Then there are attacks by wild animals, and more often even we are speaking about the fear of the probability of animal attacks. Indeed, there is a fear of wild animals. Then there are unmanaged green areas. They often saw as a bad thing, and indeed, it's probably enough just to manage well the green area to turn this from the service to service. Yet, if we have green area which is look dodgy, spooky, sketchy, then in that case we're thinking about those trees and nature in this area as a disservice, and there are unpleasant smells associated with many ecosystems. Then speaking about restrictions and inhibitions of urban planning and development, this one is really interesting one. A good example are protected species and areas. If a red listed species is found within city outskirts, it's immediately become a big headache for the municipality, because they really have to be careful about this. They need to reschedule all planning activities around to make sure that the red listed species is safe and sound. They prefer not to have one, so like they would rather consider this as a disservice. Then we can mention the poor conditions of unpaved roads. Those are really good for urban hydrology to make sustainable urban flow, but they are not nice in terms of accessibility. So you see why. Then we have protected areas which may block transport connectivity. So if you are setting up a protected area somewhere in city outskirts, or if city is growing and meeting a protected area, then again, like many are unhappy about it, because you need to find a way to bypass it, to make longer highways, and again, nobody wants that. We mentioned this kind of, although in a different context, in some green areas, which are especially not well managed one, there is a fear of crimes connected with urban parks. And this one is very gender charged, actually, because, well, for women, it's always perceived as a more risky thing to go to these spooky, dark, suspicious areas than it is for men. And in many cases, they just do not risk it, while men would just walk without thinking twice. Then there is shade from vegetation. This one is interesting. Say in Nordic context, such as Estonia, that indeed would be seen as a big disservice if you have too much shade. In southern ones, it can be difficult to explain people why shade from trees can be a problem. So that says us how culturally contextual all discussion of ecosystem disservices is. And then there are also visual obstacles from vegetation. If we are talking about the challenges for integrating assessment of ecosystem services, we want to mention this. There are many trade-offs, such as choices between space and commercial development. There are conflicting perspectives and preferences of various stakeholders. We already mentioned that. And this can be actually really a big deal. Just think about this. Even within the same cultural, within the same social group, different age groups can see different ecosystems from very different perspectives. Say, I remember when I was a kid, it was a nice small river just behind our house, and it was something that kids saw as a huge blessing, place to play hide and seek, all kind of little kids projects, secrets, and so on. And all parents really were condemning the place, because, well, kids were coming dirty, they were afraid kids to fall to the river, and so on. So you see, and that's again the question why we need to look at ecosystem services. And this is indeed for urban nature in order to survive, and for citizens in order to benefit from the services provided by nature. As I mentioned, the balance between ecosystem services and ecosystem services is indeed the trickiest part of this topic. Say, I mentioned a while ago that we're using less chemicals to take care of biodiversity, about pollinators, birds, and so on. And indeed, that causes, at least one of the reasons for causing the tick outbreak. So, like if before we never found them within the cities, now we do a lot. And this has to do with many things, how we define what's more important for us. It's about with our management capabilities, what kind of chemicals we can use, how much we're ready to suffer from the services in order to accept some services. Every time and in each individual cultural context, it is always different function, and it is solved very differently. So this what we need to be aware of. This is the complexity of urban governance issue with ecosystem services. You see these three big circles. One has to do with complexity of urban environments, another one with available planning and management solutions that a city potentially can apply, and it has to do with expertise available, with financial means available, with what's believed acceptable and unacceptable. And another one is diversity of socioeconomic, cultural, age, and so on groups. So like age issue I mentioned to you already. When we're young, we like one things. When we're getting old, we appreciate very different ones. Like we are becoming more susceptible to allergies. We probably want surfaces to be less rough, and so on and so forth. And what is the planning and management solutions that make everyone happy? They this little overlapping area in the very middle of those circles. So you see it's small area, and that's the challenge of urban planners and urban managers to identify what is within this area, how to make management solutions affordable, acceptable, and bringing some good to the citizens. So here we are coming to the concept of inclusive planning. It stems from the policy concept of social inclusiveness developed in order to recognize and consider in policies and management practices the diverse needs and abilities of people. Mostly, the most application of this concept, they have to do with, say, like inclusive planning for women, like how to make city space, for instance, equally accessible, safe, and fit to the specific needs of women as well as men, because we are the man world, and often designing things we are not thinking about the women too much, and in many senses they're most vulnerable. Or often we're thinking about the senior citizens. So they need barrier-free environments. They're kind of more susceptible to many diseases, and we shall be aware of this. So this concept is out there for quite some time. Indeed, it was mostly addressing the issues like this, but we're thinking that it's also a good opportunity to think how we can create urban space that also inclusive in terms of urban nature. So like it meets expectations of people about the urban nature, and it provides services rather than the services. And there are many tools and ways of doing that. We indeed have some management actions to deal with ecosystem the services. say in case of urban parks, we can put some lights, we can make sure that parks are well maintained, that they were attended by security. So like this way we would make parks safe spaces. We probably make it more accessible in terms of better pavement and so on. Indeed, and we found it's very interesting, in many cases communication strategies can be just as important and as management strategies for making this balance from the side of ecosystem the services to the side of ecosystem services. Sometimes people just need to be explained why certain things probably worth considering in urban environment, although they probably look unfamiliar. In most cases, both communication and management measures they need to go together. And when we're speaking about communication, the next step of it, awareness raising, also plays a huge importance, especially for such ecosystem the services which are related to protection of nature. And indeed, a very important message with this all, we need to avoid greenwashing, like something we see on this picture, like just labeling something green, we are not solving any problems. Sometimes we create a lot of frustration and a lot of questions, and rather than answering them and promoting our agenda. This is just one of those examples. You see, such green solutions, they're extremely costly. They are also very energy and resource consuming, and like applying them, especially in this form, it makes housing much more expensive. Yet it is pushed quite aggressively as a green solution. It receives all kind of green subsidies, and it's promoted, it's showcased as something green and good for environment. Although probably much better thing for environment would be if it would be low-story buildings that would require less energy and less materials, and more greenery, like in a more conventional form. And here was a part of the solution we suggested for ecosystem the services. We have built a decision-making tree with my colleagues, Hannes Krigan, and this decision tree is looking at ecosystem the services in a structure that was presented before. You saw our classification. So then the first question we have to answer when designing urban environment, taking some management measures, or like looking at city plan. The first question we need to answer, like what kind of ecosystem the services is this. We need to identify what it is. Then we're asking questions, how does it really affect human health? Can it be just alleviated using all kind of direct management interventions, or probably some communication tools that can be applied. And then going through all these decision-making tree, you may come up with recommendations how exactly you have to deal with this specific instance of ecosystem and the services. So now I want to talk about several case studies that demonstrate how exactly we were using our tool, and what was the logics behind our ecosystem the services approach for inclusive planning. So some of our case studies were in Belarus. We did them even before the war, and some of them are a newer one, and they come from Estonia, from cities of Tartu and Pärnu. So those are Estonian case studies. One had to do with curated biodiversity case in Tartu, and another one with urban cows in Pärnu. Curated biodiversity, it was the project aimed to create a healthy mixture grass species for lawns. So like lawns wouldn't need to be lawn, but would create a sustainable community of species which are low on allergies, yet provide a healthy habitat for pollinators and birds in city environment. So they would be nice oasis of urban biodiversity that would be low maintenance, and that would provide the ecosystem service of biodiversity shelter. Indeed, it took quite a huge effort for the municipality to explain people why we don't need to move lawns, why we better go with this approach to address all the potential fears, including allergies and many others. However, this campaign was pretty successful. The municipality managed to engage a lot of citizens to the direct action for constructing this kind of lawns, and so far so good. This project goes quite well. Another one, the Urban Cow project in Pärnu, was about the maintenance of historical cultural landscape, like coastal wetlands as they used to be. Basically, coastal wetland meadows, they appear this meadow-like way, mostly because they're grazed by cows. And this is something unusual in urban environments. For people, it was not very familiar sight. Again, it didn't come with no difficulties. A lot of communication and explanation work was done before people fully accepted the cows to graze practically within the city, and this project I would deem also very successful. And what's important in terms of the method we proposed, again, we tried to go down with our decision-making tree with people involved in these two projects with local citizens, and we found that actually everything was done quite in a quite right manner. So like indeed people were not familiar who were in charge for this project with our methodology. They didn't do proper recognition of what kind of ecosystem the service it is, yet they found out what kind of problems people potentially would face, both real problems and perceived problems. They addressed this through successful communication and awareness raising actions. The management action also was constructed very reasonably, and as a result we have two stories of success. This story comes from Belarusian city of Mogilyovo in eastern Belarus, and I would not tell this it was success. Actually, it was a huge failure. But again, we had an opportunity to interview people who were in charge for this project, and also with local people. We tried to understand what happened, what was the reason, and which were the alternatives. And we found that again the logics of our decision-making tool was very supportive to this. What happened here? On the top picture you see a nice urban river valley with nice flat plain with meadows and some bush vegetation, and also this was very rich ecosystem based on interaction with the river, with many older trees growing in the channel of the river on its banks, that again brought a lot of happiness to local kids to play there. Again, parents were very unhappy about this as kids came home tired and dirty and with many things lost. However, it was lively ecosystem. It was practically in the city downtown by its very edge, and For citizens living next to it, it always been a big trouble. They felt that it's not safe, it's not appropriate in the city to have this kind of wetland spot, and they wanted something more cultured, something like better maintained, something more accessible. And as a result, this ecosystem was completely destroyed, and instead something like what you see on the bottom appeared. So basically this is a desert in terms of biodiversity. It has no value in terms of ecosystem services provision, except some very basic, but indeed it's very easily accessible. Like you can walk here with a pram, also if you're an old person. It's not much to do for kids, but people are happy. It looks kind of not wild anymore. Um, they find it appropriate. And when we come to possible alternatives, probably this one would be a good one. Those pictures are coming from city of Ulaanbaatar. This is the capital of Mongolia in Central Asia. And what's amazing about this project is that it was not brought from elsewhere. It was conceived and implemented in Mongolia based on the ideas of local planners and architects. So basically what they did, there is a river Tul that flows through the city of Ulaanbaatar. It's quite a substantial river, but it's not easily accessible. Again, it has a lot of wetland vegetation by its sides, like something like you see on the bottom on the right side, and it's difficult to enjoy it, especially for senior citizens. And what was done here, it was kind of nice example of private-public partnership. The city gave this section of wetland of the Tul River to development company, and it developed a private park that was done in a way that respected the local hydrology. So like all the walking paths, everything is elevated under the level of the floodplain. You'd see a lot of drains, so the water can freely come in and come out. They also, while constructing this park, tried to leave and not to disturb as much vegetation as possible. They also preserved all the hydrological forms of floodplain, like cutoffs and wetland lakes. And by the river itself, you see this on the top right image. They did kind of bridge going along the coast of the river, so you can walk here. Trees are growing through it, so you can come up very close to the river, and I think it's pretty amazing. Mongolia is not the richest of the countries, and I do believe if in Mongolia they can do it, then indeed we can do such things in Europe as well. So I consider this as a very nice alternatives to what happened to this poor river in the city of Mogilев. Another example is coming from the same city, and it's really kind of highly anecdotal one. The group of local environmental NGO activists, they decided to make a nice demonstration project to show how natural solutions, nature-based solutions can be deployed for treatment of storm waters coming from the city watershed. So what they wanted to do, they wanted to do little artificial wetland with a little sand trap in the mouth of one of the ravines, which was coming to the local small river. It is actually the same river as in the previous case that was coming from the very center of the city. So usually it is dry, but after rivers and also in spring when snow is melting, water is coming to this ravine directly, discharged directly to the small river. And indeed, this water is full of sediments. It's full of all kind of oil products coming from asphalted surfaces of the city center. So the idea was to create this little artificial wetland to slow down the water movement, for all the sediments to uh, stay in this ecosystem, and also for the sand trap to remove the oil products. So it would be very low maintenance, and also very aesthetically pleasing way to promote nature-based solutions, because well, most of such ravines were full of garbage. The people from the locality, they mostly use them to dispose of all unnecessary things. So this NGO activists also wanted to clean the ravine from the garbage, and to do this little nature-based solution on its mouth. And what was kind of really wrong with this? The wrong thing that local people heard when they heard about all this project, they heard only one word. That was water treatment. And they immediately imagined some big, bulky, unpleasant and stinky things that would treat water, and they didn't want to have it in their backyard. So they protested quite a lot, and first the protests didn't make any effect, because this solution already got permission from the municipality, and there is no procedure to call out the permit. However, they managed to use some means and ropes, because well, they had really good knowledge about how things worked in Belarus, and they managed to recall the permit, which was really unthinkable thing before, because nobody ever managed that. And yeah, they still have this stinky, full of garbage ravine on their backyard, and the NGO activists instead, because well, they already had grant money and they had to spend them and to report on them, they used something rather useless. They went to the part of the city where nobody lives. They found another ravine, and they put this artificial wetland in the mouth of that ravine. So you can see it on the picture on the bottom. So it doesn't really make any function. It's just a patch of vegetation. They indeed did some garbage collection, because also some garbage was present in that other ravine, but still, I mean, it was not really anything useful in terms of water treatment and so on. Yet, I saw that the report on this project appeared in many cases as a kind of good case, because it was reported as a successful one. But yeah, that kind of were not really money well spent. And this all happened because the communication strategy the NGO activists adopted from the very beginning was very faulty. And again, we tried to analyze this using our decision making tree. We found again where the fault is, and where they had to act differently. We spoke to people in the neighborhood that rejected the project. We again explained to them calmly and in a different way, like in a structured way, try to analyze the problem together with them, and what would be the solution. And they agreed that that indeed would be solution, and probably it was wrong of them to protest against that, but it was a little bit too late. So that's why we say that communication strategies is often the key when we're speaking about ecosystem the services. And the third instance comes from the same city, but this one is a successful one. So the story of success. What is interesting about this one, it is about a long-term communication strategy that worked out well. A group of activists in the same city of Mogilев, they wanted to establish a protected area, to give a status of a protected area to a big urban forest on outskirts of the city. And when they were starting the talks of this protected area some 15 years ago, everyone was actually laughing in their face, like, why? Like, that area has no value in any sense. I mean, why would you want that? I mean, who would do this in a city? Nevertheless, the guys believe that this area indeed has some value. Many of them had a PhD in environmental sciences, and they were well aware of what they were dealing with, and they started very nicely tailored communication campaign addressing people living in that area and also local businesses. So they did a lot of things step by step, introducing to the society the idea that indeed this forest is a jewel of the city of Mogilев and indeed deserves some protection. And that communication campaign included fairy tales for school kids, many kind of events, sport and cultural, celebrating this area and taking place in it. And step by step, the perception of this area by people living around changed really a lot. If you would ask them a while ago, like some even 10 years ago, a question like, what would be your idea of what this forest should look like to serve better the needs of local citizens, the answer would be like, yeah, we need to cover everything with concrete and make something Disneyland-like. And after all this careful communication work, the answers were kind of more sensible, like, yeah, we need to preserve this place for our kids, for future generations, what the whole sustainability idea is all about. And again, when we checked this case against our decision-making matrix, we just saw that everything was done right, intuitively, but nevertheless, each step made sense in terms of this decision-making logics. So here the concluding remarks. Indeed, the concept of ecosystem the services is fully operational and it can be used as a planning instrument. You saw some examples. Then this decision-making tree indeed can be a good tool to make sense of ecosystem the services and for integrating them in a decision-making process. The ecosystem, the services indeed need to be considered in the specific social-cultural context, and they need to account for specific cultural and biophysical nature of the places where they are studied. And the promotion of urban nature is not easy. It may require a lot of deliberation with stakeholders, a lot of communication work, a lot of awareness raising, and only then, if you have a lot of patience and if you can offer to stakeholders also some management solution alongside, you have a good chance for success. And the most challenging part indeed is to understand what strata, what components of the society perceive certain things as ecosystem services and why. Again, it is very different in all kind of places. Yeah, and we have recognized that transparency in communicative planning is the key. It's very important. You have to be honest with stakeholder. You cannot have really stereotypes about what is acceptable and what is not with local community. You better talk to people and see what will be the reaction, and then you try to understand, okay, if we give them more information, if we provide this information in a structured way, what would be the reaction? Probably they would change the idea and start to think about urban nature from different perspective and start to appreciate the nature, not only hate it. So that's basically what the main messages I wanted to deliver to you. Now I want to offer the quick discussion too. Please think about large trees on city streets. Like you see, tree can be indeed a blessing, but also it can be a problem. Try to analyze what large old trees in cities are in terms of services they provide and the services they provide. How this balance look like. Try to contextualize this in some specific location, be it Estonia or some other country, and see what would be the solution for reconciling these trees with citizens in case if you see some of the services associated with these trees. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll be very happy to ask any questions. Please do send me an email if you have any. And I would like to kindly remind that this lecture is a part, was created on the Trigger project of Jean Monnet project Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. So thank you a lot for your kind attention.